of us at some point in our lives encounter challenges and situations that make great demands upon us, often to the detriment of our health, sense of well-being, and even our performance. Today's guest, Dr. Tom McCutchen, is a retired pediatrician and passionate about helping people overcome life stressors by applying simple techniques that are accessible to even the busiest lifestyles. This is part one of a two-part episode where Dr. McCutchen and I will explore the mind-body connection. And next week's episode, you will experience a live biofeedback session where I will learn firsthand how to embrace stress in my life. We hope these episodes serve as a useful resource and friend for you as you pursue a richer, more rewarding life. This is E3. Engage and empower with empathy. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode. You probably noticed, for those of you who are watching this episode and not just listening, that I'm not sitting in my office, which I usually am for most of my podcast episodes. I have the great fortune of sitting here in person with Dr. Tom McCutchen, a retired pediatrician, and he's also certified in biofeedback, which we're going to talk a lot about today. I will preface this dialogue with saying that Tom gave me his little workbook called Embracing Stress in Your Life a couple months ago, so I would have time to go through the exercises and really tune into the mind-body connection before we did this session together. So I would say I highly recommend this booklet and these exercises. If you're interested in a copy after you listen to this session and you feel inspired, just reach out to me directly and I can put you in touch with Tom. So with that, let's start the conversation. So Tom, tell me a little bit about how you ended up getting into biofeedback therapy.
Yes, that's a good question. I've been a pediatrician for quite some time. I went to Vanderbilt Medical School and trained at Vanderbilt Hospital, and 2 years in the Army in between there, and practiced in Fayetteville in North Carolina since 1968. A community practice of pediatrics where we saw everybody from birth to college years. And got to see all kinds of things, all kinds of patients, all kinds of illnesses. Enjoyed it. Near the end of my career, my pediatric career, I retired in 2002. In the early 1990s, I'm not exactly sure why I started this, but I became very interested in mind-body influences. I was seeing a lot of patients in the office that if they had appropriate intentions and used their minds appropriately, they could have improved dramatically their status in life. By status, I mean their sense of well-being, their sense of enjoyment of life, getting more out of life in general. And I was seeing that transmitted down to the children. Often the disorders of the parents, such as anxiety and obesity and other things, tended to be handed down. You see it more often in the children. And I began to think about that. And then I remembered reading somewhere about using biofeedback, not knowing what it's about or how it worked. In 1990, I decided I was going to take 3 years. And in spite of practicing pediatrics full time, I was going to learn about it. I found that it kind of got its start with the space age, where the need to join technology with humans, if you will, became very great, and where the skills and knowledge increased with experience. And I started reading about it. I read journals, got 2 textbooks and read them. I found a mentor in another city who was very helpful to me in teaching me about it. And I decided if I did it, I wanted to get certification, which is a basic certification, implying knowledge of mind-body things, of physiology, of technology, of safety. For 3 years I did. It was not until I was halfway through that 3 years that I realized my light bulb finally came on. I understood why it worked and how it could be so helpful to people. And in essence, biofeedback is using electronic instruments to detect and process and feed back to an individual some aspect of their physiology. It could be the sweating response, it could be skin temperature, it could be muscle tension, it could be how the heart rate varies with the breathing, and even now, the cutting edge, it could be brain waves. And I discovered that particularly neurofeedback, brainwave feedback, is very effective for ADD, ADHD, and biofeedback, when done appropriately, can be very effective in incontinence issues for people, and almost effective or more effective than medication.
Wow.
So I became very fascinated by it. I found out that most people who do it are psychologists, although there's a smattering of nurses, few doctors, few teachers who just have to get the appropriate training. And I was able to take the exam in late 1993, I think, early 1994, and passed it, and set up a little small practice with 2 rooms, and along with my pediatric practice. And at night, 2 nights a week, my wife and I would go over, and she'd be my chaperone, secretary, CEO, if you will, and we would see patients, usually adult patients, quite often children with things like juvenile migraine headaches, see pain syndromes in adults, anxiety, some cases of hypertension. And I was able to see people improve their health and their sense of well-being just by my being there and facilitating it and using the instruments, because the instruments would give them an immediate, full-time, real-time feedback into how they are at that moment. In essence, the instrument becomes them and they become the instrument. A classic example I like to tell you about is about a air traffic controller I saw one time. He came in complaining of upper back pain. And so I asked him how he worked. Show me how you, well, I've got the computer monitors down there, he says, and I'm leaning over like this, I'm trying to keep up with everything, and he was in a very abnormal posture like this, which put a stress on his back, which caused his discomfort. Now, when muscles tighten up, when they stretch, tighten up, they have a little voltage across the surface, and that can be measured with the instruments and fed back to them. So we put sensors on his back, and I had him sit there and had him bend over and take care of traffic control, air traffic control. And I set the instrument so it'd make a lot of noise. And you could see a value on the screen, a very high value. I said, okay, what would happen if you just maybe sit up straight, like most people do when they're working or reading or something? He sat up, the instrument got quiet, the value went down to normal. Okay, now go back to traffic control. And he was back there like this, and it went up again. And I sit back up. After 4 or 5 times of that, he says, I've got it. What happened was, and the thing that thrilled me was, he became the instrument became him. I mean, that was who he was at that moment. It told him exactly how he was. He was able to change with my guidance based on that. So in essence, I was his coach. I wasn't really his therapist. I was just along for the ride. Now, he would need to practice that many, many times to get used to it. But eventually he could get that posture in as a habit. I thought that was so neat. So that's kind of biofeedback. There are professional organizations. There's one called AAPB, which is a long, crazy word, Association of Applied Psychophysiology, Mind, Body, and Biofeedback, AAPB. And then there's a certification organization, and quite a few members around the world join. And they have conferences and international conferences, and a lot of fun. They've been very accepting of a physician in the ranks and very open and helpful. And the journey has been a lot of fun. It's opened my mind to so many different possibilities. I worked with about 18 children with classic juvenile migraine headaches. Usually there's a family history of that. And every single one of them was able to cure themselves just simply with doing the things we talked about. And was able to use words in the office with some patients to help them get beyond headaches and other things just because of my experience with the biofeedback. So it's been a lot of fun, and it's opened my mind to so many different areas of interest because I enjoy the technology. I enjoy using words to influence people in a positive way, and I really enjoy seeing patients choose on their own to improve their lifestyle. Of course, this applies to work too, without question.
Yeah.
I remember helping a lady one time. We did 8 sessions. She was referred in with, just wasn't happy with her life, wasn't happy with her marriage, with her work. She was an executive secretary in a large firm, and just wasn't happy with things. She had a very strong spiritual life. And it usually takes about 8 sessions to get through using the instruments and offering them for their consideration and to try different techniques for their toolbox, different tools for their mind-body toolbox to manage themselves, many of which are listed in a book. And after 8 sessions, she said, "I'm liking it so much, let's go 4 more." So we did 4 more sessions, and she wrote me a 2-page letter after that, personal letter, telling me how much better she was, how much more she was enjoying her life. Her marriage was better. Her work was more fun. She says, "I get more done in less time now, even though I'm working slower." She said, "I'm just so much more content than I was before." She learned how to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the thought that comes to my mind is, how did your patients end up coming to you to begin with? So you had mentioned that a lot of psychologists go into biofeedback, so they become specialized into biofeedback. You're a retired physician. Where does it intersect with medication? What a doctor might prescribe for a physical ailment versus psychotherapy and what you're getting from a therapy session. So where does it intersect?
That's a very good question. How does it fit into the great scheme of healthcare?
Yeah.
I think is what you're asking. And I would consider it complementary. I would not consider it alternative. It can maybe replace medicine and ADD, ADHD, and maybe incontinence, but not always. So it's a complementary discipline. It augments and amplifies the desire and the ability to get well. It's an important part of many therapeutic processes. I'm thinking of a classic example, somebody that has, say, agoraphobia or fear of heights or social situations or any kind of phobia like that. I saw an article in the New England Journal of Medicine many, many years ago talking about a tripod approach to that. One approach is cognitive therapy, just thinking, learning how to think, that it's not really that frightening when you're in this situation. There's no reason to be. Another approach is on the other part of the therapy. Second part is medication on a short-term basis to help them adjust and smooth out the present, immediate present. And then the third part is biofeedback to learn how to allow the mind to quiet the body and emotions down. So it's a 3-pronged approach. I think is a very good example of using biofeedback in a medical setting. Many psychologists establish close working relationships with physicians. There are statewide and national registries of physicians who are certified in different areas of the country. And they can look that up. Because of my situation in our medical community, people knew I was doing it. Every chance I get to talk about it, I corner them and talk about it because I enjoyed it so much. Sunday morning in the doctor's lounge when I'm making rounds, somebody to listen, I'd talk to them. I was beginning to get referrals from neurologists at Duke University because I was the only one in town doing it, and so they would look me up and they would say I'd get some referrals from oral surgeons for jaw problems. Psychologists would refer patients in. So once you get out there that you're doing it and you don't mind talking to docs and talking to groups of people about it and telling them what it's all about and show a little excitement about it, that's kind of the way it fits in, I think. It's a complementary discipline. I would never present it as an alternative.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's really helpful, and that makes a lot of sense. And after going through the exercises and embracing stress in your life, I can really see how this can be a very sustainable practice that's very easy to integrate into your daily life. Because I was literally just doing, after my kids are out the door for preschool in the morning, I would have a seat on the couch and turn on the CD, and I would do a visualization for 5 minutes or a breathing exercise for 5 minutes. So it doesn't take up a lot of time, but it makes a big impact if that's the way you're setting the stage for the rest of your day. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's the trick, getting people to take time to do it. I would tell people, instead of taking a pill, take 5 minutes every 4 hours and just be still. Or do a visualization, a meditation. I admire you for doing that.
Oh, thank you for introducing me. Because I think a lot of people get intimidated by mindfulness, meditation, because they think, oh, I have to carve out 30 minutes of my day and just sit on a cushion and stare at the wall so I think this makes it a little bit more digestible and a little bit more like it's a good place for someone to start. And then,
it's not a game of perfect, people can play with it. Just play with it. Try one thing, try 5 minutes, try 10 minutes. Find what's right for you. Do the exercises when you want. Speaking of exercises, I'd love to lead you into one that is listed in the book here, if you're up for that.
Absolutely, and I think I know which one you're talking about. Let's do it.
Okay. The exercise is called Breathe, Smile, Relax. I had a little card here that has that on it. Breathe, smile, relax. This is an exercise that uses breathing, uses the mind, uses the emotions to help a person calm down. And it's an excellent exercise to use before answering a telephone, before having a difficult conversation with someone, before doing something that might cause you to have some angst about things. Particularly good for docs or nurses before they go in to see patients or patients' families in difficult situations. And it's a very brief exercise, uses the breath and uses the mind. So let's go through that, if that's okay with you.
Let's do it.
It's called Breathe, Smile, Relax. So the first part of it is you breathe in and just take a slow, deep breath and just let it out. And every third breath or so, just practice doing that. Just slow, deep breath in and let it out. And just imagine as you're letting it out that tension and anxiety is flowing out. And any tightness you have in your body is just flowing out. And imagine as you're breathing in, imagine you're breathing in cool, refreshing air. You're breathing in cool, refreshing energy. It's stimulating. It wakes you up, revitalizes you. So that breathe in and then breathe out. And let's put in the middle of that now, near the end of breathing in, just allow yourself a little smile as you breathe in. There at the end of the breathing in. So breathe in, a little smile, and hold it just a second, then just let it go. Just breathe in, a little smile, let it go. Now this can be done quickly or it can be done slowly. The smile doesn't have to be overt. You don't have to show anybody the smile. It can just be an internal smile, which sometimes is necessary. Just breathe in, we'll smile, and let it all go. Just relax. This is excellent to use when you realize you're holding your breath, when you realize you do an email and all of a sudden you realize you're not breathing very deeply. When you're on the phone, you realize you're not breathing deeply, you're feeling yourself getting a little worked up. So breathe in, smile, and let it out. You can even imagine tension and anxiety just flowing out your fingertips and your toes. We tend not to use our minds enough in helping our bodies move to a state of feeling better and being more solid, if you will. So breathe in, smile, breathe out. How does that feel? Can you tell a difference when you do that?
Yeah, I feel like anytime my toddler is saying no and throwing a tantrum, I need to do this exercise.
A lot. Probably. Yeah. Yes, very often.
Yeah. No, it was so easy to do, but
Okay.
it's, just taking the time to pause and pay attention to your breath for a little bit and smiling. It's amazing how the muscles in your face and how you feel mentally when you smile versus when you're, I think one of your exercises, actually, you request the participant to kind of make a muscle tension in certain areas, like you force it upon yourself and then you let it go.
Yes.
That was an interesting experience for me because you really do feel like as you're tensing up, how that just decreases your state of well-being and just overall how you're bringing yourself to a situation.
That's a good way to go to sleep at night too. In bed, start with your foot. Let it tighten up a little bit. It's progressive muscle relaxation. It's a fancy term for tighten your foot up a little bit, let it go. You're just focusing just on that. And then your other foot and your leg, and just move up your body to eventually your shoulders and your face. People tend to carry tension mostly in the low back, here, and face. So those are good areas to focus on. Now, let's take that step one more further now, to breathe, smile, relax. Let's supercharge it, okay? Let's make it more fun. When you have a few moments and you're not rushed, it can be pretty neat experience. Think back in your life now, your experience with your children and your family, where you found a real positive emotional experience, a real warm, fuzzy experience that just gives you warm fuzzies all over. You know what I'm talking about? Warm, loving, caring feelings, feelings of appreciation for something someone's done, or tremendous enjoyment of something you've had. So now, when you do the breathe, smile, relax, taking your time as you breathe in and as you smile, recall that feeling and just hold it a minute, then just let it go. It always does more for me than just breathe, smile, relax.
I see what you were doing. You were connecting the visualization exercise to the breathe, smile, relax.
And you want to memorize that feeling. When you find that feeling, you want to memorize it so you can recall that feeling. Because part of what you learn in biofeedback is learning how to memorize a feeling of feeling balanced, solid. So one more time, you can recall the event, or you can, as long as you recall the feeling with the event. But the main thing is to remember the feeling. Breathe in, smile, and recall that feeling. Let it go all over you. Let it diffuse all out through you, and then let it go. How was that?
Lovely. I was using a couple of the examples when I was doing the visualization exercise on my own time. I was thinking of the time when I gave birth to my first child, and when they lay the baby on your chest immediately
that had to be
afterwards.
meaningful. Yes,
that is an amazing moment that any mother will never forget.
And you memorize that feeling. Just recall that feeling. Yeah, it'd be exhilarating, I would think. Yeah. So I find it really helps me when I'm down a little bit, just to do that. I like to recall my granddaughter was 5 or 6. We were out on the deck in the back, and she was there were hummingbirds all over. And she was holding a little thing on her finger, trying to get a hummingbird to light on her finger, so much fun to watch. So that's breathe, smile, relax, supercharged.
I love it. I feel supercharged already.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps up part 1 of this 2-part episode with Dr. Tom McCutchen. I hope you stick around for next week's episode where Tom and I will do a live biofeedback session. You will be able to experience one of the techniques he uses with patients to strengthen the mind-body connection. I'll see you then. This podcast is designed to help busy business leaders create an inspired and engaged workforce. I am building a community of like-minded leaders and experts who all share the same passion, taking care of people at work. Whether you are a blue-collar worker or a white-collar worker, small business owner or corporate executive, you belong in this community. If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to hear more, please subscribe wherever you like to listen to podcasts. If you know someone who I should interview or should be part of this community, please connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram. Life is too short. Let's take care of each other at work so that together we can make this world a better place.